Hey guys, and welcome to Read On number, I always forget the number 69, woohoo, we're almost to 100. So today we've got teen YA authors here for you guys' enjoyment. We have author of DEFY and forthcoming Ignite Me, which should be coming out here. It comes out next year, right?
It's just Ignite, and it actually just got moved up to December 30th.
Oh, so December. Oh, that's even better.
Earlier than it was originally.
I will not say no to that. Okay, so here's DEFY, nice and pretties. The next one is, I did not put these in order, is the author of ZODIAC. This is the ARC. I do have finished copies coming, so do not cry. I promise you will get a finished copy. And this one comes out, when does, oh, this one comes out in December.
December 9th.
And then we've got, ooh, let's see. See, I said I didn't have these in order. Then we've got, let's see, Famous in Love, which I actually just finished this the other day. It was awesome. Oh, this one was awesome too, by the way. And I've got also an ARC of that one to give away. And then we have Rachel Wilson here of Don't Touch, which was also amazing. And then last but not least, Lori M. Lee of Gates of Thornstone, and I just love this cover. Everybody that looks at this, they're like, oh my god, they love that cover. So I will bring the authors on one at a time as usual, so they can tell you who they are. If you have questions, you can toss them into the show. You can toss them on the Facebook event page, YouTube, or the Google Plus event page. So have fun. All right, and here we go. Sarah, you're on.
Okay.
You can introduce yourself.
Oh, right. I'm like, sure. Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated. I'm in a hat and a swimsuit because I'm actually on vacation with my husband, and we tried to get to our hotel, and they couldn't check us into a room. So I literally got in my room like 15 minutes ago, and I was frantically trying to... Anyway, good times. But I'm Sara Larson, and I'm the author of DEFY and the forthcoming Ignite. I'm usually found in Utah, not in swimsuits in November. And I have 3 kids. I don't know. What else do you want me to say about myself?
Is the DEFY, is it a trilogy, a duology?
So DEFY is something. I can't officially say yet, but I will let you know that, well, I don't know, what should I say? News will be forthcoming after Ignite releases. Let's put it that way.
We want more. All right, next.
So I'm Romina Russell, the author of ZODIAC. ZODIAC is the first in a series, and it's a sci-fi meets fantasy novel, and it comes out December 9th.
Am I up? I think maybe. I don't know. I'm Rebecca, the author of When You Were Mine, The Edge of Love. And Famous in Love will definitely have a sequel. That's what I can tell you now. It is about a girl who gets plucked from obscurity to star in the next major feature film franchise based on a book. And it just came out like 2 weeks ago, October 23rd.
Rachel, your turn.
Ready for me? I'm Rachel Wilson, and of course my dog, who's been sleeping all day, just decided to wake up and start running around, so you might hear him barking. I'm the author of Don't Touch, which is a standalone contemporary. It's about Caddy Finn, who is afraid of touching other people's skin. She's dealing with OCD, and she's trying to play Ophelia in her school's production of Hamlet and having a challenging time doing that when she's afraid of touching her fellow actors.
I'm Lori. I'm the author of Gates of Dread and Stone. I hope you guys can hear me over all this. I'm actually at a book festival right now. I'm sitting at my table. But it's been pretty slow. So My book is a YA fantasy series, the first in a series. The sequel comes out in March. That's all I got.
Okay, we will start back up with the questions. Okay, so the first question is actually for Sara. So let me pop you up here. And it is for DEFY. I love the sword and now the bow and arrow for Ignite. How did you decide to make your covers all coordinate? Or did you? Did you decide to do that?
So so I actually have no say or power over my covers. Scholastic does all of that, but I've absolutely loved them, and I am so thrilled with what they've done. And I was able to put a little bit of input in on the sequel, but they picked that it was going to be a bow and arrow, and I love how they've incorporated the flowers with the rose on the DEFY dagger. Oh, I forgot I was going to wear my necklace. Oh well, I'm in a swimsuit and a hat instead. I have a necklace that is that dagger. And then on the cover with the bow and arrow, the arrowhead is actually the flower, and it's on the bow and stuff. And they've just done a fantastic job. So I've been very happy with what they've done.
All right, the next question is, did you have to travel anywhere exciting to research for your books? Sara?
I didn't travel before I wrote the book. I've always been fascinated with the jungle, and I've read a lot of books set there, watched movies and stuff like that. I did research online, but I did have the chance to go to Mexico after I'd sold it, and it was really fun to kind of be in that jungle environment. And I remember saying to my husband at one point, I feel like I'm in DEFY, and we took this picture of me with all the jungle trees and stuff, and I was trying to look fierce like Alexa, and it didn't really work, but I tried, so that was fun.
I did not travel for ZODIAC. Everything was pretty much just imagined, or just based on, I guess it's based on every place in the world, I guess, based on what I know about it, but no, I did not go to any fun places.
Well, Famous in Love takes place on Maui, which is actually where I grew up. So I guess I researched sort of in where I went to high school and when I go back to visit my parents, but it is a good excuse to spend time in Hawaii, that I'm writing this series that takes place there. And then I also went to college in LA, which is where quite a bit of the sequel takes place and where a bit of Famous in Love takes place. So places I go naturally, but I'm happy to spend time in.
Rachel?
Is it me? Great. I didn't really have to travel. My book is set in my hometown where I grew up, but I did make a point to revisit a lot of the settings for the book. My sister was kind enough to go with me on an exploration where we went looking for these old train tracks that I remembered being back in the woods near a pool where we used to go as kids. And that setting of the pool, when I got there, is surprisingly abandoned. So I went home that night and I wrote a scene that eventually became a really important part of the novel. So I definitely benefited from research, even though I kind of knew the place I was writing about pretty well to begin with.
I did not do any traveling. However, there are some places in the book that were inspired by a couple of the landmarks around where I live. But not much, because I live in like small town Wisconsin, which doesn't quite fit into a fantasy novel. But yeah, that's the nice thing about fantasy. I get to make everything up. So no, I didn't travel, but I'd love to.
Might help if I unmute myself. Okay, so the next question is for the author of ZODIAC, and it is, will we see more Capricorn in Book 2 of ZODIAC? What inspired you to write based on the ZODIAC signs?
So, yes, and here's a big spoiler. Book 2 starts in House Capricorn. So, you'll see plenty of Capricorn. And as far as what, I mean, it was one of those things where I knew I wanted to write a sci-fi. I just didn't think I was smart enough. And so it was one of those things where I was trying to do something more fi than sci and like kind of combine it with something that gave me that ability to just use my imagination instead of actual real world things. And it's funny because like it kind of just came up as a result with my editor and who's actually someone I went to college with. So I knew pretty well, and we had a lot of fun brainstorming, and zodiac signs it was. And I actually, what I love about it is that like everybody has a zodiac sign, so in a way like the reader's already invited to be a part of the world. Whether or not they connect with their zodiac sign is another issue, but there's a solution for that. It's called Risers, and you'll learn a lot more about it if you read the book. But yeah, so I guess that's the answer.
I really need to read that. Okay, so the next question is, who inspired you to become an author? Sarah?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. You said, who inspired you to be an author? Is that what the question was? She's muted. Okay. Yeah. I don't know that any one person particularly inspired me. I have always wanted to be an author my whole life. I've written books for as long as I can remember. I have notebooks from 2nd and 3rd grade with stories that are full-on stories with chapters, and they were like 20 handwritten pages and stuff. And so I've just always wanted to be an author. But I have authors that inspired me, and I know it's really cliched, but when I was married and had my first son and Harry Potter was this huge craze and I was reading those books, I just thought, man, I just wish that I could do that. I wish that I could write these books that I love and publish them and have people love them. And so probably J.K. Rowling really kind of helped inspire me to pursue my dream for the first time instead of just writing aimlessly for, like I had the majority of my life.
I would say, I think, so I moved to the States from Argentina when I was very young, so I had to learn English. And my parents sort of had no idea what I was reading or up to because they didn't know English. And so for my first novel that I picked to read at age 9, I went and chose Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, and I had no idea what I was just looking at the pretty covers. And so I tried to read it, and of course I didn't understand anything, and I was so frustrated, and I'd be like, I don't understand this language or what's going on, but all I knew was that the words were so beautiful, and something about it would just make me so emotional. And I think that was kind of when I knew that writing would forever be a part of my life. But I think, and I'm going to steal Sarah's answer, I think really it was the Harry series that really cemented it for me, because I mean that was the best. I mean, it's my favorite series in the world, and I really felt like reading it, I was like, okay, this is definitely the audience I want to write for. So, cool.
I think we're all stealing Sarah's answer. Harry Potter as well, but I like Sarah said, I've sort of always just been an author, like been a writer. I've been writing since I could put words on a page. So I'm not sure one thing in particular kind of did it, but I had really wonderful English teachers growing up, like in elementary school and in middle school, who really encouraged me, I think, who saw that I really loved to write, that I was really engaged with it, and who encouraged me to, like, at a very young age, enter like little writing competitions. I remember like going to another island. I lived on Maui at the time, and there was like some little writers competition. I was in the 6th grade, and like I won, and I got to go to Oahu, and I was really supported and encouraged, and I think it allowed me to eventually make this a career. So a lot of things. It's lucky it worked out too, because I'm not very good at anything else.
Rachel?
I'll also credit a really amazing literature program at my high school. We had a really great book club that I remember being a part of, and I remember trying to read Anna Karenina and Moby Dick in the same week, because I had to do one for English class and one for the book club. So just reading in general was always a huge part of my young life. And then in college, I studied theater, and I had an acting teacher who had us do morning pages inspired by the artist Sway. So we would write stream of consciousness for just 2 pages every morning, And honestly, that is what got me started writing, thinking in an internal monologue and starting to play with characters. So I have to give a shout out to my acting teacher, Kim Rubenstein.
Lori? Uh-oh. I think we lost her. Lori, you there? All right, we will come back to Lori. Oh yeah, Harry Potter, big thing here. Oh yeah.
Yay.
Where I'll be going tomorrow, Universal. That's all we do on the weekends.
I can see like Hogsmeade and Hogwarts and everything from my window. It's really cool.
Oh, you can. Oh, that's right, because you're like vacationing here in Florida, so you're like
I am, yeah.
30 minutes away from me then.
Yeah, hey, we'll have to meet up. I think we're going to go to Universal tomorrow, actually.
Ooh, can I bring the 3 books with me and they'll be signed? Can't beat that.
And like in my shirt or something.
I will let you know where I am when we get there. Okay, so the next question is another one that is popped up on the event page. What was the hardest, toughest scene to write, and describe your book in 1 sentence? Sarah?
Okay, so the 1 sentence is the prince's best guard is actually a girl disguised as a boy. Oh no, I said it wrong. The prince's fiercest guard is actually a girl disguised as a boy. I suck at pitching my own book. Ugh, just go read The Flap or something. And the hardest scene to write, it was probably towards the end, so I don't know if I want to talk about the details because I don't want to spoil it for people, but for those who have read DEFY, there's a scene towards the end where Alexa is in a pretty pivotal fight, and something happens to her, and I wasn't anticipating that happening when I had planned the ending of the book, but as I was writing the scene, I just knew that that's what had to happen, and it was a really hard scene to write because it was hard to do that to my main character who I loved, but it was the right thing to do, and it's become a really important part of her character, so.
Okay, describe. So, in a galaxy based on the astrological signs, the young guardian of Cancer must unite the ZODIAC before an ancient evil from the past returns to destroy them. And
Nice work.
and okay, so hardest scene to write. I don't want to give anything away. But basically, I feel like killing off a character that you love is always really hard, and I think like the death scene is always terrible. So I'll stick with that and say no more.
Go Cancer.
Yeah. That was an amazing description, by the way, Sarah. And that was all, I think, 1 sentence. That was really impressive. Okay, Famous in Love. A girl is plucked from obscurity to star in the next major feature film franchise based on a book. I don't know about hardest scene. The hardest part of Famous in Love to write was definitely the character of Rainier. Basically, the book is a love triangle between a girl named Paige Townsend and Jordan Wilder and Rainier Devon. And one of the boys was really tough. Like, I think sometimes 2 characters have just like impeccable chemistry and it just works, and their scenes when you write them feel very seamless. And sometimes you have to like do a few edits until you figure out the complexities of kind of the way that they interact with each other. And so their relationship took a little while to kind of find the vibe in. But I'm happy with the way it turned out. So I also just unplugged myself. Sorry. I think I'm done. Next.
I guess that's me. Something to do with pushing past fear with a little help from your friends. I'll say for my. I'm gonna go shorter than a sentence. I'll go with a phrase. And what was the other part of it? It was the hardest.
What was the hardest, toughest scene to write?
Yes. I'm going to go with, there's a pretty pivotal scene that I won't spoil, but it involves another swimming pool. And Caddy is at a low point in her sort of mental state, and it was really tricky. I had a clear idea in my mind of what I wanted to be going on in that scene, but I found it really hard to get it right so that my readers were reading the same thing that I had in my mind. So that one took a pretty long time to revise.
Lori, you're back. Yay.
I missed the question. What was it?
It is, what is the hardest, toughest scene to write, and describe your book in one sentence?
Oh, the dreaded one-sentence pitch. Let's see. A girl who can manipulate the threads of time must join a revolution in order to save her brother. I think that's okay. And then the most difficult scene to write, probably the ending. I have a thing with beginnings and endings. It takes me like 3 times as long to write a beginning as I do like the rest of the book, and then the book chugs along until I reach the end, and then it takes me forever to reach the ending as well. I think it's because there's so much importance placed on the beginning in order to draw the reader in, and then there's importance placed on the end in order to like finish off the book in such a way that the reader just kind of like steps back and says, "Oh my God," So I think it's that pressure that kind of gets to me. So it's the beginnings and the ends that I have so much trouble with.
The next question is, do you like to go out to public places to write, like Starbucks, or do you tend to have your own writing cave? Sara.
So I have 3 kids, and they don't really do well at Starbucks. So I tend to stay home and write. And really, for me, it's just about stealing time wherever I can get it. When my kids were younger, I would nap. I would write during nap time. Now, unfortunately, they have all grown out of naps, which really, we have to have a moment of silence for the naps. And so now it's more if I have a couple hours while they're all at school, or after I get them in bed, or sometimes I'll have to hire someone to watch them, and I'll have to go to a library or something. But I like to go somewhere quiet because I listen to music when I write, so I just put in my headphones and, yeah, I don't know.
I kind of thrive in chaotic environments, so I do, there's a Starbucks that I wrote at for I think 7 years. Like I finished college and then came out to LA and just wrote there for 7. I just moved away from the area, so I stopped writing there. But it was just like so productive for me because as long as there's a lot going on around me and no one's focused on me, I just like I can write forever. But if it's really silent, I just hear too much and I'm like, okay, what's going on? I'm too nervous. So.
Yeah, I get that. I can work at home, but it's pretty important for me to like get up and out of the house in the morning. And so I generally write at a coffee shop that's around the corner from me. Actually, right now I'm at another author, a friend of mine's apartment, because we're having a writing day today. So as long as I can like put on real pants, and generally like you have to do that to leave your apartment. I mean, sometimes I don't. Then I'm in better shape. So out.
I actually really like writing in pajamas, in bed, in my house, in the dark. I tend to turn my screen on. I use Scrivener, so I turn it where my screen is totally black with just orange letters. So I'm definitely more of a cave writer, although I do like writing with friends. I'll get together with some writing friends in a house, and we'll, just kind of give ourselves timed writing sprints. So that's pretty fun, and the sound of the other keys tapping is very motivational. This guy thinks he's supposed to be in my lap if I'm at my computer, so that's what he's doing right now.
And he's so cute. Lori?
I'm definitely a hermit. I stay at home basically all the time. I have a 1-year-old at home, so that's an excuse, but I really do just like to be alone and to be at home by myself. I actually don't like having to put on real pants, so yeah, I wish I had like a dedicated space. I kind of just take the kitchen table and claim it as my own, and everybody eats elsewhere. And I need basically complete silence when I'm writing. So basically, like what Sara said, when my son is napping, that's when I'm the most productive.
I feel you that for kids, because my 10-year-old, I can send her to the park. The 4-year-old, not so much. As female writers with female protagonists, how central to your books is the female narrative? Sara?
The female narrative, huh? Well, I don't know. With Alexa, she just came to me who she was and with her story, and it was just my job to try and write her story. But I do like to try and, I guess, find the strength in all my female characters and to try and really give them the chance to tell their stories. I think that it's really important to let females have that voice and to get their narrative out there and to show their strengths, and that some of the things that we maybe get told make us weak are actually part of what makes us strong in our own feminine way, if that makes sense.
I think that, I mean, I think it does play a role. I feel like, especially because at age 16, Ro, the protagonist, is kind of just discovering her own womanhood. So it kind of has to. But at that age, I just feel like it is important that your gender or your identity, or just kind of like what you think of yourself as almost. And so I feel like in those ways it's important. But I really don't think it, I feel like the hero's journey is the hero's journey, for any gender. And I feel like Harry Potter would be just as powerful if Harry had been a woman, or, any, kind of association. So I really kind of feel like, to a certain degree, it's important, like, as an individual, but I don't think as a hero or as a leader it's important.
Female narrative. I feel like there are quite a few. I mean, when I start a book, my job is really to pay service to the character that has come to me and the character that I've created, be that like, a boy, a girl, a man, a woman. I'm working on an adult novel right now. I think it's just really about servicing the character. As far as my YA goes, I was a pretty shy, timid girl in high school, and so I think sometimes it takes my characters a little while to kind of come out of their shell, and a lot of times their journey is sort of their journey to find their voice. And like Sara said, I think there can be real power in like that process, and not just like being there, being strong, being like right out the gate. I think the journey of coming to can be really worthwhile and can be really empowering. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what's been said. I think it's tricky to talk about a female narrative. I don't, we probably wouldn't talk about a male narrative, and it's really important to remember that gender. It's 50% of us are female, so it's actually one of the least interesting things about an individual is their gender. So I will say, though, that I think my characters are aware of how gender works in the world, and it's a contemporary novel, and Mandy and Caddy complain about how there aren't enough female characters in Shakespeare, and they complain about some of the roles that women play in Western literature and things like that. It's in their air because it's in my air, but I wouldn't say that Caddy being a female is what makes her an interesting character to me. Yeah.
The book I wrote before of Bread and Stone was actually from a boy's point of view, and prior to that I had actually written a lot of fan fiction, which was primarily from a boy's point of view, just because the fandom that I was in had a lot of guys in it. Fates of Bread and Stone is the first book I'd written with a female point of view in quite some time, and I don't know, I guess clearly it worked out. I think maybe I was just able to get into her head a little better because, the whole gender thing, but I don't know, I felt like after a while, I've been telling all these stories with boy point of views, and I thought part of it was also that, there's this fantasy adventure, and I had always wanted to envision a female protagonist for this, because why can't she have the adventure? So that's all I thought about when I went into it. It wasn't, some major life-changing decision.
Okay, the next question is for Sarah. For DEFY, did you intend for readers to compare it to Mulan, or was that just a happy accident?
No, I did not at all. And actually, I think that sometimes when people see the description and then say, ooh, I think it's a retelling of Mulan, and then that actually sometimes turns out being not a very good thing because it isn't a retelling of Mulan and it wasn't intended to be. So if they go in expecting Mulan, that's not what they're going to get. So yeah, no, I actually didn't even think about Mulan when I was writing it. It wasn't until after it was being published and I started seeing people comparing it to that I thought, oh yeah, I guess people might compare this to Mulan, which is probably really stupid that I didn't make that connection to that point because I get to watch Mulan all the time with my kids and I love Mulan. But yeah, definitely not on purpose. But I love Mulan, so if people want to compare it to that, they can. I just hope that they like what they get when they read it.
The next question is, do you read your reviews? Sarah?
Okay, I'll be honest. I did it first. I'm just too curious. I'm like a cat, and I just have too much curiosity. So I did, but I got to the point where it was too much, and I stopped because there are a lot of people that love your book, and it's great and wonderful, but then there are the people who hate it, and they use lots of really not powerful, that's the wrong word, really emphatic gifs about how much they hate it, and it can be somewhat damaging to your creative process as you're trying to write a sequel or something. So I did eventually stop, but I also learned, I mean, you can learn something. I loved Maggie Stiefvater's post about why she does read reviews, because she was saying that she reads them to try and get an overall census of what the feedback is to make sure she's doing her job right as a reader, or a writer, excuse me. And if she keeps seeing the same feedback over and over again, then she tries to take that into account and alter her process to match what she's trying to accomplish with her writing. And I maybe don't have as thick of skin as Maggie, so I'm not sure if I can do it as much as her, but I did try to do that to a degree of trying to see, okay, are there common themes in feedback, whether positive or negative, and do I agree or disagree, and should I change anything accordingly?
Yeah, I would say my answer is the same. You know, I started off reading because I was so curious, and then by the 5th email of complaint to my editor, she was like, do me a favor, get out of Goodreads, don't go back in, just finish the sequel. I don't want you reading anything else. And I was like, yeah, okay, you're right. And I felt so embarrassed, and so I stopped looking, and I've just been focusing on the sequel. It's the same. You know, I just feel like, you know, it's damaging to the creative process, but I feel like there is definitely a time to read them and take the feedback. I just think, yeah, while you're creating is not the moment.
Yeah, it's been interesting to sort of read reviews. Famous in Love just came out like 2 weeks ago, but it's been interesting to read reviews of the first one, knowing that the second book is, you know, the sequel is pretty set in stone. Like, I'm editing it now, so it's also almost kind of fun to sort of read and see what people are liking, how they want things to end up, what they don't like, because it's like, well, there's not really much I'm going to change about it now. But I try to sort of like keep abreast, I think, of how my books are being received and overall what people think of it. I think that's helpful for me as a writer. But like, if stuff is just inflammatory, or like as Sarah said, if there are GIFs like about, you know, screaming people about how much they hate something, then I will probably stay away from that. It doesn't really feel like a great use of my time.
I'll second that, or third that, or fourth that. I read a lot of them for a long time, and I do have a pretty thick skin, and you know, and they're mostly cool to read. But at some point, even good reviews can be distracting because you're just thinking about what people, you know, have other people's points of view while you're writing, and it's important to get those voices out so you can do your own thing. But I have enjoyed reading them overall, and I probably will go back and read them more in batches when I'm not as actively focused on trying to get a draft done.
I did start out reading them, but I actually did not read the negative reviews. I was really good about skipping those because I used to have a thick skin, like in fan fiction, But with this book is like it's different when it's your book and your characters and your story and everything has come from your mind and your heart. So, I mean, I feel like there are people I trust to give me critique, like my editors, my agent, my critique partners, my beta readers. But and I understand, you know, the whole Maggie's type beta thing, reading her reviews. But at the same time, I also feel like that kind of critique needs to come from people I trust to give me, you know, the feedback. So I read the positive reviews, I avoid the negative ones, and I mean sometimes I can't avoid it, but I do it when I can, and I feel like that works for me. So.
Okay, the next question is, do you have any say when your covers were or are being made? Well, we already know your answer, Sarah, so I'm going to turn it around. If you could have had a set on your covers, what would you have done?
If I could have had a say on my covers,
yeah,
I would have said, "Yay, good job, I love them." I was really nervous for my cover actually before I saw it because it's the story's about a girl who's disguised as a boy. So I thought, oh, this could go some interesting directions that maybe wouldn't make a great cover that makes people want to pick up a book, or it could be awesome. And I love the direction they chose. So yeah, I couldn't think up of something on my own. So what they came up with was, I love it. So I'm glad I didn't have a say.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I love my cover. Love, love, love. Vanessa Hahn is amazing at Penguin, and I've actually already seen a sneak peek of the cover of the sequel, and oh my god, yeah, I can't even talk about it. So yeah, I'm so happy, and so happy to stay out of it.
Total love fest. I love mine too. Liz Casel is a genius at Little Brown, and it was actually the first cover on my first two books. We vetoed some and was very happy with what we ended up with, but it took us a few rounds to get there. And with Famous in Love, it was just, that was it. There was one, it was done, and I love it. So.
Rachel?
Looking for my mute button, got it. I had very little say in my cover, but I did love it. And, you know, they asked me before the cover design started if I had any pet peeves or things I really loved in covers. And the one thing I said was that I really didn't want like a sexy girl with a come hither stare looking out of my cover, especially since my girl is very fearful and not comfortable in her skin, and you know, I just had nightmares that I might have the very coquettish girl looking out of the cover, and luckily they weren't thinking in that direction at all. And we talked a little bit about the lighting of it and getting some more theatrical lighting elements in it, and I think that was a really cool adjustment to the original that we had that turned out pretty well.
I did get asked a lot of input, and I wrote them like a book for like what I wanted, what I didn't want, like you know, like literally 24 examples of books that I liked, and then they didn't take any of my advice. So, but I'm actually quite pleased with what they did. You know, I mean, I'm probably one of the only people who would probably say I don't love my cover, but I do really like it. I think it's really, really pretty, and I do love elements of the cover, the threads. I love the threads, because that's just perfect. But, I mean, the response that I've gotten from the cover is actually really great and beyond what I expected, so I'm very happy, and I'm actually quite glad they didn't take any of my advice, because I don't think I knew what I wanted anyway if I wrote like, a book on what I didn't want.
I think of the 3 books that I read, which was Defy, Famous in Love, and Don't Touch, I love that they fit their book perfectly. See, the next question is, what do you snack on while you are writing?
Boy, honestly, I don't really snack much when I'm writing. I hate getting stuff on my keys. I don't know, so, and I don't want to keep having to wipe my hands because I tend to write really fast. I don't know, this is sounding really, I'm a really weird person, I guess, but I do love Swedish Fish, and I love chocolate-covered cinnamon bears, and like chocolate of all kinds that are good and stuff. But so I'll snack on those after I write a scene or something, like as a reward, and then I go try and run it off so that I don't get a permanent reward on my butt. Yeah.
I have a bunch of iced lattes, and I snack on a lot of dark chocolate.
Chocolate, coffee. I actually recently gave up coffee for green tea, and it's been like a total nightmare. I mean, people said after the first 5 days that I was going to feel awesome, and like I didn't feel like I wanted to die anymore, but I definitely do not feel awesome. It's been like 3 weeks, and it's all I talk about. I talk about it like all day long, so I have to go back. Also, I'm not even writing. I'm not drinking coffee, and I'm not writing. So coffee, and I'm returning. I'm done with tea.
You're making me laugh a lot. I also recently tried to get off of coffee. I stopped for maybe 3 days and found that I felt just as bad. And I discovered that I needed allergy medicine, not to get rid of coffee. So I'm now taking allergy medicine and drinking as much coffee as I want, and that works out really well for me. I usually have coffee or tea while I'm writing, and I try not to snack, but if I'm really anxious, Twizzlers works pretty well.
I don't eat, or I try not to eat, snack, or drink anything when I'm typing because similarly to how I need complete silence when I'm working, I also just need to 100% be focused on what I'm doing, because if I'm doing this, then my hands are not on the keyboard. So I find I'm way more productive when I just like close out everything else.
Okay, the next question is, if you had to co-write a book with somebody, with another author, who would it be and what would the book be about?
I actually am co-authoring a book with another author, but probably most people wouldn't have heard of her yet. She is a really good friend of mine and a critique partner, and she's represented by my agent. Her name's Catherine Purdy, but she hasn't sold a book yet, but we're crossing our fingers because her books are amazing and there's some interest, and yeah. But anyway, we have a book that we're writing together, and it's a young adult kind of sci-fi adventure romance thingy. I don't know.
Anything a brat.
Oh, that was awesome. I have no idea. I have no idea. I would love to co-write with a friend of mine whose work I love, Jay Asher. I think it would be really fun to co-write with him. I love his stuff. But I have no idea what we would write about. All I know is it's 13 Reasons Why, beware the 13th sign, 13 something. That's all I got.
I like it. I would definitely write a book with my very, very good friend and fellow YA author, Lila Sales. She's the author of Mostly Good Girls and Past Perfect, and her new book, The Song Will Save Your Life. She's like way more talented than I am, so I think it would work out well for me. And we probably would just like write about our friendship, like, I don't know, like walking around New York and eating chocolate and drinking coffee and hanging out. We call ourselves the wacky buddy cops of YA, so maybe we call it that. I don't know.
That's awesome. I want to triple write a book with Romina Russell and Jay Asher. I think that would be really fun. I've talked to one person about co-writing, my friend and grad school compatriot and critique partner, Varian Johnson, and I think the hardest thing is to find time when you're not having to do your own individual writing, especially when your schedules might not match up. But I think it would be a middle grade dual point of view contemporary about something mysterious. Someday.
If I get to name any author in the world, it'd be Neil Gaiman. Because duh. And it wouldn't even matter what we wrote about. It would just be, his hand would be on it. he'd put like a handprint on it, and that's all I would need. Okay, but realistically, I think it would be really cool if I could write something with my critique partner, Mindy Arnett. She writes the Nightmare Fair series, and like we actually became critique partners before either of us were agented. So I mean, I think our style meshes very well, just because we like each other's work so much, and then we both signed with the same agent in the same year, like just coincidentally. So I think that'd be fun.
The next question is are you full-time writers or do you also have full-time jobs? Sarah.
Well, I'm a full-time mom, and then I try and write when I can. But yeah, I guess technically as far as a job or career goes, I'm a full-time writer. I don't have another job that I do.
I freelance produce, so just like, you know, small productions, web videos, commercial stuff, and then I also freelance write, produce movie trailers. But right now, I've just been focusing on ZODIAC. So.
I am also a full-time writer. I do some journalism work. I write for New York Magazine. I cover the Vampire Diaries for Vulture, which is super fun. But yeah, I'm a full-time writer. And also, Jessica, I think I should take this opportunity to tell you that I think I have to run. I'm not home, and apparently this takes up a lot of battery because my computer is about to die. So I think this might be my last question.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Remind me the question.
I have to unmute myself. Are you an exclusive full-time writer, or do you have an outside job as well?
I have many jobs. I work with a company called Barrel of Monkeys, and we teach writing workshops in elementary schools, and then we adapt the stories the kids write for the stage. So that's one of my part-time jobs, and I teach in our after-school program. And a lot of my other part-time work lately has been being a standardized patient, which means that I go pretend to be sick and help doctors learn how to deal with people. So that's pretty fun. Sometimes I even get to pretend to do surgery or things like that.
That's cool.
I am a full-time mom as well. And so I guess technically I'm also a full-time writer. I do some freelance editing on the side, but other than that, yeah, I write and I chase my son around, and that's my day.
Okay, the next question is do any of you have a street team, and how do you promote your book? Do you have a street team to help promote your books, and if so, how do we join?
In a street team, I think that people who do are amazing. I really had to try and pick and choose what I did to promote and market my book because I do have 3 kids, and my husband also travels for work, and it's just so busy. And so I've really kind of just tried to focus on being more just accessible to everybody, I guess. But it may be something I do in the future. And I did just start a newsletter so that people can sign up for that on my blog, and I will be doing, you know, special things for people who follow the newsletter, like announcements early and special giveaways and things like that. But that's about as much as I've done.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. I mean, I think I'll have more updates to share soon, but for now, I'm not quite sure. So I would say just like to tweet at me or something and, you know, figure it out.
Oh, I guess I go next now. Hi, Rebecca. I don't have a street team. I love the idea of a street team. I think I learned what one was about 6 months ago, so maybe next time. I have been doing a lot of online visits and blogs and things like that. I got to go to the Vegas Valley Book Festival and met Lori there as well. That was really fun. And, you know, just trying to sort of say yes to everything. There is a finite amount of stuff you can do. So I made a book trailer, and that took up a lot of my promotional energy, but I was really happy with the way it turned out.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
Do you have a street team?
Oh, right. No, I do not. I considered forming one, but as a debut author, it's hard because I think you have to have a certain amount of confidence in order to create a street team, to think that people have that kind of energy to put into a debut author's book that they probably haven't even read yet. So I think part of it was that I didn't feel confident that anybody would want to be on my street team other than my cousin or my family, my sisters, so that's part of it, but also it is a lot of work, and like Sarah said, I had to prioritize my time and the things that I did, so that's part of it too, maybe for the sequel.
Well, for those of you who stated you didn't have a street team and I am your friend on Facebook, Rachel, I am not your friend on Facebook. I'm going to cry. I have actually added you to one of my groups called Rhyme Street Team, and it is for authors who do not have the time to do a street team. So you have officially joined. If you don't want to join, you can delete it. It's fine. But I did add you to it, and everything is done for you. You don't have to worry about doing anything. So free and you don't have to do anything. You can completely ignore it. Can't be that. Okay, so the next question is, what is your writing process like? Are you straight to the computer? Do you use pencil and notebooks? How do you write?
So I tend to be kind of a weird hybrid mix as far as my process goes. I do it all on the computer. I gave up writing on paper a long time ago because I think way too far ahead in my scenes. As I go, I get lost and I forget what I wanted to write down because I'm too slow. So I've trained really, really fast to try and keep up with my weird, insane brain. But so I do just sit down and just start writing usually, and then once I get maybe 20, 30, 40,000 words into my book, and I'll know the beginning and the end and a lot of the big plot points, but I don't know the details. But once I get about halfway through is when I have to start trying to do kind of an outline for the rest of the book. And then I have a document open the whole time that's the name of the book, and then it has notes. And I'm writing notes as I go. If I think, oh, I need to do this, or oh, I need to remember this about this character, or here's a scene I'm going to write, or how this is going to work, I'm writing notes as I go so that I can just keep drafting as fast as I can, and then have it hopefully all come together in the end, if that made any sense at all. I don't know.
It did, totally. Yeah, I'm the same. I just go straight to laptop. I can't read my handwriting. I always feel so bad when I sign books for people because they're excited and then they walk away what? No idea. I cannot. I don't know. It was the only time I ever got a C in school was for handwriting in elementary school, and I cried. I was so upset, but I can't do it. So yeah. So definitely laptop. I wake up. I'm up by 5 a.m. and immediately to my coffee into writing, and I write a lot until midday, and after that it's I might write and I might not, but it's I've had a full day by then, so it's whatever. And then and I'm a big fan of world Bibles. Before I can write a single word on the page, I just write Bibles to every kind of world of a book. So it doesn't have to be a fantasy world, but just the world of that book, So I'll write about 50 pages or so of just information I need to know, and then I can start the actual novel and stuff. So
sounds like I have a sort of similar process to what you guys have described. I write really long. I write just a ton of ideas and free writing and crazy scenes that might not go anywhere, and then eventually I start piecing it together. So Scrivener works really well for me because it's a great program that allows you to divvy things into an infinite number of scenes and then merge them and move them around really easily. So I do a lot of that, cutting and pasting and moving things around. And I'm also really visual, and I haven't totally landed on the best way to visualize my novel, but I'm gonna grab this crazy chart I have over here. This is just one example of some of my nutty attempts to make something I can look at. It was inspired by Ingrid Sundberg's blog. She has a really great post about charting your novel and using color coding and all sorts of creative things like that to try to put it out into the world. So I basically make a big mess.
That is seriously cool. But I'm a plotter, so I have to, and I'm not just like, you know, write an outline. I'm like super duper anal, so I like put a lot of preparation into the books that I'm writing. Like I just started a new book, but I had like an 8-page glossary, and the world building notes are like 70 pages long, and that's not even the outline. But my outlines are totally crazy too. Like for Gates of Thread and Stone, it was a 25-page outline. And then for the book I wrote after that, it was a 50-page outline, and I'm just like, yeah, stop. You know, it's like more focus on the actual writing of the text instead of this outline. And I get to color code. And I do everything on the laptop, because my writing, like I start out really neat, and then I want to write faster because it's not as fast as on the laptop, so then I'm like, and then I can't even read it, so I don't see the point of even trying. So on the laptop, or like I live on my phone as well. I take notes on my phone, and if I can't type on the phone, then I'll like voice record myself talking. Bye.
Last question of tonight is going to be, what has been one of the most exciting and or challenging things in getting published?
Oh boy, I don't know. I think I'm going to go for exciting, and really the most exciting thing is when somebody contacts me, emails me, mails me a letter, tweets, whatever it might be, to tell me that my book touched their life, that they loved my book, that they couldn't put it down, whatever it might be, something like that. There's a lot of hard parts to being published that you don't really realize until you are published. And sometimes you can get caught up in that, and maybe the comparison game or these different things that sometimes it's hard not to let yourself go there. But those are the moments that bring me back to remember my dream was to write a story that I love and to have it be published so that other people can read it and hopefully love it. And so whenever I receive that validation that somebody who I don't know, who has no clue who I am, read my book and loved it and reaches out to tell me, that's absolutely the most exciting and wonderful thing I could ever have dreamed of, to have somebody love my characters and love my stories. It's amazing.
Yeah, I would echo that for sure. That's been the most exciting part. I think that it's just the idea of like whatever sort of the weird thoughts that are always in your head that you kind of didn't know you could share with people, or just whatever, suddenly being out in the world and being like real, being a thing that can be discussed, and then other people sort of talking to you about it or writing about it and connecting to things that you didn't think they sort of like, you know, see the same way or think the same, and it's so cool because you really do start to see just like, you know, just like how similar we are in a really cliched way, but it's really nice to kind of make those connections with people that, you know, I never had before.
Yeah, I'll echo that. It's challenging to imagine people you don't know reading something that you wrote. So when I have read reviews and I read someone's analysis of the book and it seems that what they saw is exactly what I wanted to get across, that's really satisfying. And I have been childishly excited, like jumping up and down excited by a couple of things that people have done. One blogger put together a playlist from the book, and also made a GIF collection from the book trailer, and just seeing things like that where someone took the time to, you know, put up a quote and a graphic or something because they really loved it, that has been the most exciting thing. And also just having your friends know that you actually are writing when you say you are, that's really gratifying too. Like, oh, you're not just faking it, you wrote something.
I mean, the most challenging thing is just getting it published, which I think is a whole different chat. So, but I'm gonna parrot everyone else. You know, the reader response is absolutely the best part. Like the first time a reader created like a photo set for my book on Tumblr, I think I cried because I'm like, you know, I look at those things for other books that I enjoy. And I just think it's so awesome when like someone took the time to do that because they enjoyed my book that much. It's touching. It's crazy. It's the best feeling.
Better with words. And to end off today's show, you guys can shout out to anybody or anything that you want to. Sarah, who would you like to have a shout out to?
To my husband for letting me do a chat while we're on vacation. I don't know. And just to everybody who's taken the time to read DEFY, to review it, to tell your friends about it, whether you loved it or not. The fact that you would spend hours of your life means so much to me. And to those of you who do like it or love it and spread the word, you are the people who make my job possible, and I just want to tell you thank you. And if you haven't read it yet, I hope you give it a try, and I hope that you all will love Ignite. Went out on December 30th now. You get it a week earlier, so yay for that. Those of you who did want the signed copy, my signings are staying the same. It'll still be January 6th, so you will get a signed copy a week later still. But it'll be worth it because it'll be signed, right? Yay!
I want to give a shout out to my critique partner, Nicole Maggi, who's watching this, and her book, Winter Falls, comes out also in December. It was originally going to be December 9th, but I think now it's 1 or 2 weeks later, but it's amazing, and it's part of a trilogy, and it's also it's paranormal, and it's fantastic, so you should all look it up. So yeah.
You said it was Winter Falls?
Yeah, oh. Winter Falls.
I have that book.
Wait, you have?
I have everything. As you can see behind me, if I don't have it, then it doesn't exist, and that's all there is to it.
Right. Nice. Well, you'll fall in love with Jonah. So, oh, and you know what? Also to Erin of the Hardcover Lover blog, who sent me a really sweet review today. So right before I came on.
I'd also like to shout out to everyone who's given my book support, friends, family, strangers. It's been really, really wonderful. I'll give a special shout out to my class, the Super Secret Society of Quirk and Quill from Vermont College. We had our writing retreat recently, and all the promotional stuff had me kind of in a writing slump, and that picked me up out of it. So thanks for that, guys.
Where'd she go? Lori?
Here she is.
Hi. Sorry, are we saying okay? I just want to say thank you. You know, I feel like I'm just parroting the rest of you because I'm at the end, so I'm just like, thank you.
Did you get what the question was? It was, you can shout out to anybody you want.
Yes, I just, you know, to the readers, because it still, like, blows my mind when I get, you know, tweets or emails or, you know, from anyone who enjoyed my book. Even when it's from my family. That like, is crazy. So, just thank you for reading. Thank you for your interest. You know, and if you like to read it, that would be awesome too.
Thanks to you, Jessica, for hosting us.
And thank you so much for coming on. And Sarah, I will Facebook you about where to meet tomorrow, so I can stalk you with my copy.
Thank you guys. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you so much for coming on. And if anybody would like to come back on when your next book comes out, just pop me an email, Facebook, Twitter, and hunt me down.
I promise that when my book comes out, I will not be talking to you from a book festival. Sorry. I want to apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. It's happened before. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks. Happy Saturday.
You guys can click the little red telephone above us. And I get to go kill me some 2 children that you can hear screaming. Well, just so you guys know, the next read-on will not be until December the 6th, and on that particular show, I have to get my list of authors that are coming on. I will be out in a minute. And that will be Sara. I'm not even attempting to pronounce her name, but she is the author of Snow Like Ashes. Sherry Ficklin will be back with us again for the 3rd time now for Queen of Someday. Cameo Renee will be on for Gilded Wings, and Crystal Wade again will be coming on for Charming. So definitely tune in then. And just so you guys know, the week of the 23rd of this month, which I think is in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It is in 3 weeks. I will be having an exclusive Edgemont USA review and giveaway week where all those books that are be given away are all via that specific publisher, and I have got everything in finished copies. So that is definitely something to check out. You can check out all of the events for my site on my Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/Crossword Review. And you can also find that on my website, and you can enter the giveaway, which I know that's what everybody is waiting for. If you haven't already found it, and I lost my window here, you can enter the giveaway. The link is on the page. And just to repeat, this giveaway is for a finished signed copy. It will be signed now. I will get them signed tomorrow. A finished copy that's signed of DEFY, either an ARC or a finished copy of ZODIAC. For a finished copy or an ARC of Famous in Love, a finished copy of Don't Touch, or a finished copy of Gates of Thread and Stone. And I'm pretty sure that none of these are signed. No. Check this just to make sure. No, none of them are signed. I don't think Don't Touch is signed either. No, nothing is signed. Finito. Nothing is signed. So definitely tune in, and if there's any authors that you want on the show, just go tweet to them. Tweet to them that you want them on the show, and I will be more than happy to bring them on. So thanks again, everybody, and I am out of here to go deal with my 2 children who are in trouble. Bye. Have a good night.